Among other fascinating stories, nothing beats a good ghost story on Halloween, and our planet is chock full of them. No matter where you're traveling, you're sure to find some sort of haunted sites, as well as a ghost tour to go along with it. Whether you are a fan of paranormal activities or not, some of these spookiest locations are still worth your time, whether for their beautiful architecture, locations, or fascinating histories. Here, the top 10 places in the world you'll want to visit any day of the year, but wouldn't know they are actually haunted. 1. Isla de las Munecas, Island of the Dolls, Mexico. Just south of Mexico City, between the canals of Xochimilco. It is dedicated to the lost soul of a poor girl who met her fate too soon in strange circumstances. The area has thousands of people, but this small island is home to hundreds of terrifying dolls. Their severed limbs, decapitated heads, and blank eyes adorn trees. It is said that a girl was found drowned in mysterious circumstances many years ago on this island and that the dolls are possessed by her spirit. Local legend says that the dolls move their heads and arms and even opened their eyes. Some witnesses claim they had heard the dolls whispering to each other, while others who were on a boat near the island said the dolls lured them to come down to the island. Maybe these witnesses are exaggerating and the island is in no way possessed, but the truth is that the Isla de las Munecas is a very creepy place that marks the casual visitor. 2. Catacombs of Paris, France. Located underneath the famous City of Lights, lies the infamous Paris Catacombs. The catacombs have over 200 miles of tunnels and quarries. There have been various reports of missing persons. Some have been found. Others were not so lucky. The Paris Catacombs opened for tourism on June 19, 2005. It temporarily closed around 2009 due to rampant vandalism and skeleton theft. Since the catacombs opening, visitors have reported seeing orbs, voices, and strange shadows in the tunnels. Philibert Aspert is one notable ghost who haunts the catacombs. In 1793, Aspert lost his way in the catacombs. He was found dead near an exit 11 years later. He haunts the catacombs every year on November 3, the day he went missing. No wonder this place is haunted. 3. RMS Queen Mary, Long Beach, California. Among the ghosts reportedly still hanging around, is an engineer who died in the ship's engine room, a lady in white, and various children located throughout the ship including the first-class pool. Haunted encounters are offered only during the day, but when the sun goes down, the spirits aboard the Queen Mary come out to play. You might want to explore the legendary ship with a series of twilight tours and seances that explore the haunted past and paranormal activity that the Queen Mary is known for. 4. Edinburgh Castle, Scotland. In 2001, Edinburgh Castle became the site of one of the largest paranormal investigations in history. A team of 9 researchers and over 200 members of the public explored the castle's forgotten chambers and secret passages for signs of ghostly happenings. The public was not told which areas of the castle were rumored to be haunted and which were not. 51% of participants in haunted areas reported paranormal experiences, while only 35% did so in the non-haunted areas. Shadowy figures, sudden drops in temperature and the feeling of something tugging on your clothes are all everyday experiences in Edinburgh. One of Edinburgh Castle's most famous ghost stories concerns a young bagpiper who disappeared without a trace. Several hundred years ago, some secret tunnels were found beneath Edinburgh Castle, leading towards Holyrood House at the bottom of the Royal Mile. As the opening to the tunnel was so small, a young boy was sent down with his bagpipes to investigate. He played the pipes loudly as he walked through the tunnel, so people above ground could work out where the tunnel went. The pipes stopped abruptly when they reached the Tronkirk and, although search parties were sent to find the boy, he was never seen again. 5. Hill of Crosses, Lithuania. Lithuania's national treasure, the Hill of Crosses, has a troubled and mysterious history. The Soviets repeatedly tried to destroy it. Now, it's become a symbol of the nation's struggle and spirituality. The Hill of Crosses is a small mountain of approximately 100,000 crosses, which brings about a curious phenomenon. No one manages or organizes it. The Soviets raised it again and again, only to have the crosses reappear. The precise origin of the practice of leaving crosses on the hill is uncertain, but it is believed that the first crosses were placed on the former Jurgēkai or Domantai hill fort after the 1831 uprising. How and when the practice of leaving the crosses on the hill started is a mystery. Before the 1800s, there was a Domantai fort in that area, and it is said that probably the first cross was placed after the uprising of 1831 as a symbol of Lithuanian defiance of foreign invaders. Over the centuries, giant crucifixes, statues of Virgin Mary, carvings of Lithuanian patriots and thousands of tiny effigies and rosaries have been placed here. In 1795 Sauliai was incorporated in Russia and returned to Lithuania in 1918. After the peasant uprising of 1831 to 1863, many crosses were erected on the hill. Relatives of the dead rebels who had no bodies to bury left crosses on the hill in memory of their lost loved ones. There were around 150 crosses by the end of 1895. Throughout this time, the hill was a place for the Lithuanians to pray for their country and their loved ones who had sacrificed themselves in the wars of independence. When Lithuania became independent, the Hill of Crosses became her national identity and a symbol of her Catholic faith. There is another legend behind the Hill of Crosses. The story is of a Lithuanian farmer whose daughter was sick and was going to die. She was treated by all the doctors and given all possible medicines, but her health kept on deteriorating. Every night the farmer sat beside his daughter and kept praying for her health. One night while beside his daughter, the farmer had a dream. A woman dressed in white clothes asked him to follow her instructions to make his daughter better. According to her instructions, the farmer built a large wooden cross and placed it on the hill of the Domantai fort. The woman in white said that the cross was a sign of faith and love for God and it would heal his daughter. After he had placed the cross, his daughter was cured of her illness, and amazingly, before he returned home she was out of her bed waiting for him. People came and placed a cross on the hill in hopes of curing their loved ones who were sick. Drop a comment below, let me know what you think about these two sides of the story. 6. St. Augustine Lighthouse, FL. One of the lighthouse's first keepers was a man named Peter Rasmussen. He was known for his meticulous eye and watchful manner of maintaining the lighthouse. He was also known for his love of cigars and is one of the first ghosts that people report coming in contact with. Over the years, the smell of Peter's cigar has been detected by many, including staff members and guests. Others have seen and heard another keeper, Joseph Andreu, at the top of the tower, only he's been dead for more than a century. His presence at the lighthouse could be explained by the fact that he fell to his death while painting the outside of the tower. His spirit never left and is often seen looking out from the top. But perhaps the most well-known ghosts of the St. Augustine Lighthouse are that of the two young sisters who also died on the property. Hezekiah Pitti was hired to renovate the tower in the late 1800s. His daughters, Eliza and Mary, were playing inside a cart that was being used to carry materials back and forth to the lighthouse. When the cart broke loose, they weren't able to jump out in time and the cart slid rapidly into the bay, plummeting both girls to a watery death. Today and most days since then, the girls can be heard laughing at the top of the tower late at night. Creepy, right? Others have spotted Eliza floating about the grounds wearing the same blue dress she died in. Inside the lighthouse and around the property, many are often spooked by strange and eerie events that they just cannot explain. Staff members say that they lock the door at the top of the tower each night before leaving, yet the door is often open in the morning when they arrive for work. The lighthouse staff also reports that chairs have been moved or overturned and that various items in the gift shop were moved or missing, only to reappear later. Some say while touring the lightkeeper's quarters they feel cold and that the figure of a tall man has appeared before them, and then disappeared. 7. Tower of London, England. Stories about this range from headless apparitions of Anne Boleyn to the distraught spectres of the two murdered princes. Tales tell of many Tower of London ghosts. Of course, since being founded in 1067, the tower has seen more than its fair share of ghastly happenings and grisly deaths. Even so, it's the depth and breadth of creepy stories which alarms most visitors. From repugnant smells, ice-cold rooms, mischievous things among others, stories of inexplicable Tower of London ghosts abound. Although there are many stories attached to this tower, here are a selection of the creepiest stories. In 1483, the two young princes were infamously murdered in the tower, with their murder remaining unsolved to this day. The shadowy figures of two lost little boys, holding hands, are a relatively common sight in the White Tower, as they drift between rooms and melt into the walls. Many other tales of Tower of London ghosts involve Anne Boleyn. Anne was imprisoned in the tower and beheaded in 1536. The ghost of Anne has been spotted in many different parts of the Tower of London, both roaming the inside of the buildings, and outside upon the Tower Green. Here's a truly terrifying fact for you. Almost every castle keep in England seems to be haunted by one common ghost, which is a spectre of a woman, either dressed in white or black robes. As you might expect, the White Woman of the Tower of London is spookier than most. Often, visitors only glimpse a figure in white in the corner of their eyes. Then, quite suddenly, they smell the terrible, pungent smell of an old, overpowering perfume. 8. La Recoleta Cemetery, Buenos Aires, Argentina. The La Recoleta Cemetery sits proudly within Buenos Aires. It is built as if it is a city within itself, with main walkways splitting off into smaller arterial paths that lead visitors around city blocks lined with towering mausoleums. The most disturbing and famed story to come out of the La Recoleta Cemetery is that of Rufina Cambaceres. In 1902, Rufina, who was just 19 years of age, was found seemingly lifeless by her parents. Her passing was sudden and shocking given her young age, yet doctors confirmed her death and her parents made arrangements for her body to be transported to the La Recoleta Cemetery where she would be interred. The night that Rufina's body arrived at the cemetery saw a terrible storm roll in and her burial was postponed due to heavy rain. Rufina was placed inside a coffin and stored in the cemetery's chapel. The next morning, staff in the chapel noticed that her coffin has been disturbed, having moved slightly with its lid sitting ajar. Rufina's already distraught parents were contacted and informed of the possible tampering of their daughter's body. They requested to cite her, fearing that grave robbers may have broken into her coffin to steal the valuable jewelry she was buried with. When the coffin was opened, Rufina's body was found bruised and bloody. The wood of the coffin encasing her had also been desperately scratched and clawed at. The terrible truth that Rufina had in fact been buried alive was then revealed. It was discovered that she had suffered from a rare medical condition, leaving her in a comatose state, fooling doctors into believing she had died. Rufina is now laid to rest in a mausoleum that sports a likeness of her walking out of its door. Though many believe that she may not be resting with her spirit thought to haunt the La Recoleta Cemetery, where she spent her panicked and fear-filled final moments. Though Rufina is by far the cemetery's most famous ghost, she is not the only one to haunt the La Recoleta Cemetery. 9. Bhangarh Fort, India. Ghosts and Bhangarh Fort haunted stories increased human curiosity, due to which it's one of the most visited places in town. India is a land of mysticism and paranormal stories. At every turn, you come face to face with something ancient and mysterious. Bhangarh, with its royalty, setting in Rajasthan and a prehistoric presence, is no exception to this. While you can hear all about the roaming spirits of the restless or impure souls from the locals or from tourists who claim to have felt a presence, all these stories have their roots at two of the legends that surround the fort and its ruins. Local legend tells of a black magician or evil saint who fell in love with a princess from the fort town and attempted to use a love potion to win her affection. However, the princess dodged his moves by flinging the potion onto a boulder, which then rolled down toward the magician, physically crushing him. Before taking his final breath, he cursed the fort, saying it would end up in a state in which no one could live as it is today. Speaking to locals from nearby villages will get you a host of newer, stranger myths and legends. But what is widely accepted as true is that a few fatal accidents have taken place in the fort in the past, mostly involving tourists, which prompted the Archaeological Survey of India to post its sign prohibiting visitors between sunset and sunrise. However, spending full nights in the haunted fort premises is still an adventure people partake in almost too frequently. 10. Hoia-Baciu Forest, Romania. This forest is filled with warped trees. their skeletal figures twisting and spiraling, making it seem as though they're contorting themselves to reach out and touch you makes the whole place creepy. An eerie silence fills the air, interrupted only by the footsteps of unseen figures. Given its eerie atmosphere, it's no wonder the Hoia-Baciu forest is said to be one of the most haunted forests in the world. As such, it's a place that lends well to stories steeped with darkness. Some even call it the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. According to local legends, ghosts and spirits lurk among the crooked trees. One tale tells of a young girl who disappeared into the forest, only to reappear 5 years later unable to remember where she had been. Another legend speaks of a shepherd who, along with his sheep, vanished within the woods. And, with most places associated with the supernatural, there are also rumors of alien encounters. Of course, the forest has so much more to offer than just a dark thrill. It's a perfectly pleasant recreation area, letting locals and visitors take a break from urban Cluj-Napoca. There are hiking and biking paths that wind through the unusual trees, and the woods teem with a rich variety of animal life. A fascinating story is told of a 5-year-old girl who went into the forest and came back out 5 years later, wearing the same clothes and not looking a day older. There are some 1,000 people who are thought to have disappeared here over the years. This obviously shouldn't be a place you would want to visit. The strange activity in the forest centers around a clearing where nothing grows. While scientists have studied the soil and determined that there's nothing wrong with it, the area is devoid of plant life. Some claim it is a portal to another world. Researchers have come from around the world to study the forest, and numerous magazines and newspapers have included it in their lists of the world's most haunted places. Despite the stories told, it is a fascinating and unique place to hike. These are the few places that caught my attention. Let me know what you think of these places and the people living there. If you have an experience of one of these, you can share in the comments section down below.